They didn't love you. They used you. There are people you spent years with, people you shared your deepest secrets with, people you helped during their hardest moments. You gave them your time, your money, your energy, your sleep, and you gave it freely, sincerely, without keeping score, because you thought that was love, friendship, closeness. And then came a moment when things got hard for you, when you found yourself in a dark place, when you needed support, and you reached for your phone to write to the very people you had helped so many times. And there was silence, or a brush off, or a hang in there, or the message was read with no reply at all. And in that moment, something inside you broke, not from the pain itself, not from the situation, but from the realization, from that terrible, cold, merciless clarity. They didn't love you. They used you. Today, we're talking about this, honestly, without sugarcoating, about people who mistook your kindness for a resource, who entered your life not because they valued you, but because they needed you, and about how to learn to tell the difference, and how, after all of this, to not shut yourself off from the world forever.
Part 1. What it feels like from the inside. The cruelest thing about relationships with people who use you is that you don't understand what's happening for a long time, because they don't arrive holding a sign that reads, "I'm only here for what I can get." They arrive with smiles, with warmth, with attention, at first. They know how to be charming. They know how to listen when it suits them. They know how to say the right words, make the right gestures, create the feeling of closeness, and you open up, because human beings naturally want to be needed, want to be part of something warm, want to believe in sincerity. And then the pattern begins, and it's so gradual, so invisible that you don't see it right away. First, one request. Well, the person needs help, why not help? Then a second, then a third. And suddenly you notice that every conversation revolves around their problems, their needs, their crises. And when you try to talk about something in your own life, the topic somehow quietly shifts, or they suddenly have somewhere to be, or they offer advice on autopilot, already thinking about something else. You start to feel a strange emptiness after spending time with them, like you talked but received nothing, only gave, and again and again. But you justify it. You tell yourself, they're just going through a hard time right now. They're just like that. They don't know how to ask about others. I don't like burdening people with my problems anyway. And you keep giving, because you're a good person, because that's how you were raised, because you genuinely love these people. But love is not a one-way road, and sooner or later your body, your soul, your heart begin to signal this to you through exhaustion, through irritation, through that same feeling. You write to them and something inside tightens before they've even responded, because you already know they're going to ask for something again.
Part 2. The many faces of being used. Being used isn't always about money. It's rarely even about money. There are far more subtle, far more painful forms. Emotional exploitation. This is when a person comes to you exclusively to dump their pain. You are their container, their emotional trash can. They unload everything they've accumulated, they feel lighter, and they leave, satisfied. And you sit there holding all that heavy foreign material inside you, with no one to turn to because you're strong. You always know what to say. You understand people so well. You've been turned into a therapist, but without payment, without gratitude, and without reciprocity. Using your status or connections. Suddenly, old friends appear when you land a good job, or acquaintances who haven't been in touch for years but heard that you can now put in a good word or make an introduction. They call, they're charming, they remind you of shared memories, and between the lines, the ask is already there. And you sit there thinking, where were you when things were hard for me? Where were you when I was looking for work? Using your kindness as a weakness. Some people are very quick to identify kind-hearted people. They spot someone who can't say no, and they climb right on. Consciously or not, that's a separate question. But the result is the same. You're constantly doing things for them, and they treat it as their due. You helped once? Great. A second time? Normal. A third time? Why did it take so long? Being used in romantic relationships. This is its own kind of pain. When the person beside you is only there because it's convenient for them, because you're stable, because you don't cause drama, because you have an apartment, a car, connections, money, patience, because you're reliable. Not because they love you, but because you're useful. And you feel it in the small things, in the pauses, in the way they look right through you during conversations. But you keep telling yourself everything is fine, that this is love, that they're just like that. Situational friendship, the most common kind. The person is there while things are good for them or while they need you. Holidays together, parties, photos on social media, all present and accounted for. But the moment you hit a rough patch, they disappear. Not out of malice, they just feel uncomfortable. They just don't know what to say. They have a lot going on too right now, and you're left standing with it all alone.
Part 3. Why we allow this to happen. And here is the most important question. Not, why are they like this, but why do we allow it? Because the answer to the first question is simple. Some people simply don't know how or don't want to build equal relationships. They take where there is giving. That is their model of the world. It isn't always deliberate cruelty. Often it's just immaturity, self-centeredness, or their own unhealed wound that drives them to constantly seek nourishment from outside themselves. But why do we stay in these relationships for so long? First, the fear of loneliness. We're afraid that if these people leave, there will be no one, that the emptiness will be even more painful than a relationship where you aren't truly seen. And so we hold on to the illusion of closeness, to people who are at least there. Second, conditional love from childhood. Many of us grew up in environments where love had to be earned, where you were praised when you were convenient, obedient, useful, and where you were ignored or punished when you had needs of your own. And you learned the lesson. To be loved, you have to be needed. You have to give. You have to help. And that program stays in you for decades, automatically replaying itself in every new relationship. Third, the fear of conflict. We don't want to make things awkward. We don't want to seem petty, greedy, oversensitive. Is this really such a big deal, we ask ourselves? Can't I just help? And so we help. Again, swallowing the resentment, swallowing the exhaustion, swallowing our right to reciprocity. Fourth, we confuse self-sacrifice with love. Somewhere deep inside sits the belief that real love means giving everything, putting the other person above yourself, enduring, not complaining. This romanticized self-sacrifice looks beautiful in movies, but in real life, it destroys you. It drains you and gives others permission to keep taking without end. Fifth, we hope they'll change. Maybe he's just in a difficult place right now. Maybe she'll understand eventually. Maybe if I hold on a little longer, things will be different. And we wait a week, a month, a year, 10 years, and they don't change because they don't need to change. They're perfectly comfortable as things are.
There is a moment, and you know it if it's already happened to you, when everything becomes clear. It can be something small, some minor situation that on its own means nothing much, but it becomes the final straw. You ask for help and receive a refusal or indifference from someone you never once turned down. You're sick and no one asks how you're doing. You're going through a crisis and the people you were always there for are suddenly busy. And in that moment, you see everything, as if someone lifted a fog. And you look back at the last years, the months, the conversations, and you see the pattern. You see that they always took and rarely gave. You see that you always adjusted yourself and they never did. You see that you remember their birthdays, their problems, their dreams, and they didn't even know the basic things about you. And it hurts deeply. But this is not a collapse. This is a beginning. Because only by seeing the truth can you start to change something. Part 5. What to do after you've seen it. First step, allow yourself to feel the pain and the anger. You don't need to immediately let go and forgive. That wouldn't be honest with yourself. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to grieve the relationship for what it could have been but never was. You have every right to feel betrayed because you were. Anger in this context is a healthy response. It's your psyche telling you something unjust was done to you. Don't silence that signal with spiritual quotes about forgiveness and letting go. First, feel it completely. Second step, stop explaining and justifying their behavior. We very often defend the people who hurt us. They just don't know any other way. They had a difficult childhood. They didn't realize what they were doing. Maybe so, but that doesn't erase your pain, and it doesn't obligate you to stay. Understanding someone's reasons is good, but it doesn't mean accepting someone's behavior indefinitely. Third step, start setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're not a way to punish someone or get revenge. They are simply a clear understanding and communication of, here is what I am willing to give, and here is what I am not. Here is what I am willing to accept, and here is what I am not. People who truly value you will accept your boundaries. They may be surprised, they may feel uncomfortable, but they will accept them. And those who are used to using you will become angry or leave. And that is the best diagnostic tool available. If a person is angry that you're no longer willing to give everything without question, they aren't angry at you. They're angry that they've lost access to the resource, to you as a resource. Fourth step, learn to recognize the signs earlier. There are things that reveal people consumers fairly early on. If you learn to notice them, you can protect yourself before you become attached. They talk far more than they listen. They rarely ask about you, and when they do, they don't actually listen to the answer. They react to your help as though it's their due, not with gratitude. They disappear when you're struggling and reappear when they need something. They rarely initiate contact just to connect, without a request, without a need, simply because they were thinking of you. Fifth step, invest in relationships where there is reciprocity. Not everyone is a taker. There are people who also know how to give, who think of you, who will be the first to write, "How are you?" Not because they need something, but simply because they care. Look for these people, cherish them, invest your energy, your time, your heart in them, because our relationships shape us, and you deserve ones that fill you up, not drain you dry. Part 6, about forgiveness. Honestly, many people will tell you you need to forgive for yourself, to let go. But there's some truth in that. But I want to be honest.
Forgiveness is not an obligation, and it is certainly not something you need to rush so you can appear to be a spiritually evolved person. Forgiveness is a process, sometimes a long one, and it does not mean bringing that person back into your life. It doesn't mean saying it's no big deal. It doesn't mean forgetting. True forgiveness is when you stop carrying that person inside you like an open wound, when the thought of them no longer pierces you with pain, when you can say, yes, this happened, it hurt, but it no longer defines me. You can get there, but not through force, only through genuine inner work. Part 7, the most important thing I want you to hear. The fact that you were used does not mean something is wrong with you. Quite the opposite. You were used precisely because there is something valuable in you. Your warmth, your sincerity, your willingness to give, your empathy, your ability to show up for people. That is not weakness. That is rare. In a world where most people are focused on themselves, you know how to think about others, and that is beautiful. But it needs to be protected, not destroyed, protected. You don't need to become hard, suspicious, closed off. You don't need to stop helping and loving. You simply need to learn to choose who you give your time, your energy, your heart to, because that is a limited resource and it is priceless. Surround yourself with people who see you, not your function, but you. People who are genuinely curious about how you're doing. People who remember what you said last month. People who will call not only when they need a favor. You deserve relationships where you are valued, not for what you can give, but for who you are. Conclusion. If you recognized yourself in this video, know this: you are not alone. Millions of people go through this, and the fact that you can now see the truth, that alone is an enormous step. It is painful to realize that someone you trusted saw you as nothing more than a resource. It is painful to look back at memories and see them in a new, harsh light. It is painful to let go, even of those who never deserved your presence. But beyond that pain, there is freedom. The freedom to build your life not around those who take, but around those who give. The freedom to be yourself without fear of being exploited. The freedom to finally turn some of that boundless care you've been pouring into others toward yourself. Start with yourself, not because you're selfish, but because you're human, with your own needs, your own pain, your own dreams, which matter as just as much as anyone else's. They didn't love you, they used you, and you survived it. And now, you are going to live differently. If this video resonated with you, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe. There are many more honest conversations ahead about what is really happening inside us.